Good afternoon, class. Now I am going to share my screen for you. Okay. Now I think everyone is able to see, right? So we are in the second part of the first unit. That is nothing but language constructs and conventions in Verilog, right? Okay. Language constructs and conventions in the Verilog. Actually, these constructs and conventions make up a software language. Okay, all this is a software language. Just it is actually hardware description language. It's a hardware description language, but these constructs and conventions are very important. Either it is a hardware description language or else software language. If you are very much familiar with this constructs and conventions only, you can understand the language properly. Okay, you can become the master of that particular language. If not, if you don't understand these constructs and conventions, you will not become a master of that language. So you should learn these constructs and conventions very carefully. Okay, so this Verilog is having its own constructs and conventions. Here the word constructs in the sense syntax. Generally in the C language we used to call as syntax, right? Here also we used to call as syntax, and also here we are just saying as that syntax are called as constructs here, right? Actually, in most of the constructs or the syntaxes are similar to that of our general C language only here. Okay, so no need to worry a lot here. In the previous discussions, we have seen that we have some Lexel tokens. Generally, we have 7 types of Lexel tokens. Out of all these 7 Lexel tokens, that 7 Lexel tokens will be generally operators, keywords, identifiers, white spaces, comments, numbers, and strings. Right. Generally, when we start learning a new language, it has to be carried in some particular format. Okay. That's generally Lexel tokens. Here, first we will be learning here, excluding the operators, we will learn all other Lexel tokens. All other Lexel tokens. Out of 7, we will be learning here 6, and in the next classes, we will be learning the operators. So, first and foremost, first we have to know that for any language, first and foremost, first we have to learn whether it is a case sensitive language or case insensitive language. Here, Verilog HDL is a case sensitive language. In the previous lectures also we have seen that I have already mentioned that Verilog HDL is an case sensitive language. So here capital A and small a both are different. They both are different variables or different types of identifiers. Okay. Here just like C language, here this Verilog HDL is a case sensitive language. Okay. Now the first and foremost of the Lexel tokens, first we are seeing regarding the keywords. Okay. So first we have to learn the keywords which have some particular meaning in the language, right? Here these keywords define the language constructs. Okay, these keywords used to signify the activity which is initiated or terminated or which is carried out. Okay, if you write some particular keyword, it is having some meaning. It has to say what is the function it is carrying, or whether it is initiating some function or it is terminating some particular function. These things will be identified with the help of the keywords only. So for example, we are seeing some keywords here, and one thing we have to remember that since it is a case sensitive language, we are using the keywords in the small letters only. It doesn't mean that since it is a case sensitive language we are using in the small letters, but here, so in VHDL it is a case insensitive language. Both may refer the same, capital A and small a, but here it is a case sensitive language, so we have to be very much careful. Instead of having other disturbances, we will be remembering easily that all the keywords in Verilog are of small letters, lowercase letters only. So example we are giving here module, end module. You can observe that end module is not having any space in between. Okay, and we have to begin something and it can be ended with the help of end statement. Okay, we can also have if statements, conditional statements also there, and while statements are also there. Generally, these are only small examples of the keywords. Okay, we have plenty of keywords in the Verilog HDL. Those things we can identify in the appendix. Okay, appendix A in our textbook. You can see we have an appendix at the end of the test, at the textbook. There we can see what are the different types of keywords. Or in the future classes we will be learning each and every keyword also. If you want to see at a time all the keywords, you can go and see there in the appendix A of the textbook. Okay, so what we have seen so far, we are seeing that now Verilog HDL is a case sensitive language, so we have to be very careful. If you write a identifier or a variable in capital A throughout the program, if you want to refer that one, you have to use capital A only. If you used as a small a, you have to use small a only throughout the program. Okay, that is Verilog HDL is a case sensitive language. Okay, and one thing we have to remember here is all the keywords in Verilog are of small letters. That means lowercase letters only. Okay, there will not be any one letter will be in the capital or other letter will be in the small. That type of problem is not there here. Okay, everything is in small letters only. Okay, so for example, if you see the module, it is to signify the beginning of the module definition. Okay, here we have seen some keywords. We can have its meanings also just like this. A module is nothing but to signify the beginning of the module definition. There will not be any program in the Verilog HDL without this module and end module. Okay, every program has to start with the module only. So it signifies the beginning of a module definition, and end module is to end the module definition. And we sometimes use some begin. It signifies the beginning of the block of statements. Okay, begin and end, it is to end that block of statements. If you write something between begin and that end, they all are treated as single block, right? Some bunch of statements. You can treat as some bunch of statements. Begin is for the beginning and end is for the ending of the particular statements. Next, if you go with some other, if you want to perform some conditional activity, we'll be using this if and while. Okay, while, do while. You can remember some syntaxes which you have learned in VHDL or in the C language also. For loop, okay, if else, nested if, okay, do while. Do while means first it will be doing some operation, then it will be doing based on the condition while. Okay, directly we can also have only while. Okay, difference between the do and do while we have. So behind only while and do while. Okay, these things are the general keywords which will be performing some particular amount of operations there. After that, so next part is regarding the identifiers. So generally every program requires some set of statements and some signals to be identified with an attached name tag. Okay. Generally, when we give some particular name, it should be of some meaningful for our ease, for our understanding purpose. When we give some name, it should resemble some meaning also there. Okay. Identifiers are just like if user want to give some name for an input, I can give my own style of input, right? Generally, they are the identifiers, which is to identify something is nothing but an identifier, right? Okay. So generally, I may take A as one input, B as one input, C as one input, or else I can write AB in combinedly a single identifier AB. The name itself is AB. That means I want to say that these identifiers are not only of single character. There may be more than one character also. Okay, they can be grouped up and they can be used. I can, instead of writing A as an input, I can write RAM as an input. RJM. The total thing is single identifier only. The name instead of A, I can write RAM. Okay, that is what we have to understand, right? So these type of names are generally called as identifiers, right? Name tags. Here, when you want to give some name, that is nothing but an identifier, you should remember something. We have some naming restrictions also. Okay, here here we have first letter should be or maybe an underscore or else an alphabet. Okay, first letter should be either an underscore or else an alphabet. Okay, and others should can be alphanumeric. All characters of the alphabet or an underscore can be used as the first character. Okay, all characters of an alphabet, we have A to Z, small letters and capital letters. We can use any one as an starting letter of the particular identifier, or else if you want to start with the underscore, we can use an underscore also. Okay, and we can use only the one more symbol other than the underscore, that is nothing but a dollar, but we can't start with the dollar. Okay, the identifier name cannot be started with the dollar, but in between you can use both underscore and dollar also. Okay, if you write all content as in small letters NAME, that is one type of identifier. If I write capital N, small a, small m, small g, that is another identifier. Okay, I can write NAME 1, it is another identifier. I can write NAME underscore dollar, it is another identifier. So they almost seems to be same, but they all are different. Okay, you have to remember one thing. I have mentioned only underscore can be used. I have not mentioned that empty space. Okay, if you write name space dollar, it is a wrong statement. Name state name underscore ram, generally they are of, sorry, name underscore ram is an single identifier. But if you write ram name empty space ram, it is identifying as two actually. Since there is an empty space between the two, it is identified as two different types of identifiers. Okay, so namespace AA is not allowed, dollar name is not allowed, one underscore name is not allowed. Why? Because dollar space name, in that first letter may be an underscore but should not be a dollar, and one underscore name means, I said that first letter should be a alphabet, not a numeric. Okay, so one underscore name is not supported here. At the rate name, it is also not supported here. Here we have only two special characters. One is dollar and another one is underscore. And but underscore is given a privilege of that it can be used in the starting. But dollar is not given the privilege. Either it can start with a alphabet or else it can start with an underscore, an identifier name. Okay. Here also someone used to write a plus b as some identifier. It is not allowed here. A plus b. Plus is also a special character. It is not allowed here. Okay, we also have some escaped identifiers. Okay, we also have the concept of escaped identifiers. Here we don't have slide on that, but I can write like tell you. But generally, no one will be saying this escaped identifiers. Why? Because you will be using without knowingly. Okay, generally, everyone is not going to mention this escaped identifiers. Just as a concept, you just listen once and you leave that one. You better use only this type of identifiers only, general identifiers only with their naming conditions, but don't go for this escaped identifiers. Generally, escaped identifiers here is nothing but we can use some combination of backslash and something you write. What you write, it will be detecting up to first space character. Okay, you can write something backslash ram. If you write that like that, ram is treated as an identifier. It is if I write something after backslash, it is called as escape identifier. But you don't use those type of escape identifiers. We will be using only general identifiers. Okay, if you may write backslash ram space Lakshman, a total thing, it will be reading only up to the ram, since it will be detecting the, after backslash, it will be detecting the first empty space. Up to that only it will be treated as one identifier. Okay, don't think too much regarding this, and don't try this type of escaped identifiers. You just follow only the naming conditions what we have mentioned in the identifiers here. Okay, you get it. Identifiers what we are using here, it will be first letter should be either underscore or else an alphabet. We have alphabet either in the capital or else in the small. Okay, 26 plus 26 total 52 will be allowed here as first letter, and also the underscore. Total we have an advantage of using 53 letters as first letters. Okay, first letter should not be a dollar, right? And first letter should not be an empty space. Generally everyone will be doing a particular mistake, that everyone will be unknowingly will be giving a space, okay, in between the letters. It will not be a correct way of indicating the identifiers. Okay, next we have white space characters. We have white space characters. For blanks we are using backslash d. For tabs we are using backslash t. For new lines we are using backslash n, and they form feeds from the white space characters in the Verilog. Okay, and these type of characters we have already seen in the C language. Okay, backslash t, backslash n. If you want to print something there, if you want to print something in the new line, you will be using backslash n. Okay, these type of characters we have already seen in the C language also. So that's the reason why I have already mentioned that this Verilog HDL seems to be just like of our C language only, most of them. Okay, so next you go for comments. How to write comments. So for single line comment, we will be using double slash. So this one is backslash, and generally this will be the general slash. Okay, if you use double slash, it is for single line comment. For multiple line comments, you will be using slash star. Then if you want to close, we can use star and slash. We have to write in the starting. If you want to have a multiple number of comment lines, you have to go with indication like this. I think we have used this one in the C language also, I think, for multiple line comments or single line comments. Okay, we might have used in the C language also this type of indication for multiple line comments. Whatever you write here in between the both, that will be treated as a comment only. If you have a only single line comment or very short sentence, we will be using this double slash. And if you want to write more number of comments, it may be coming in different lines, so we use these type of symbols, right? So we also have the numbers. And one thing we have to remember, that in the comments also, in the multiple line comments also, there will not be a nested multiple line comment. Okay, there should not be any nested multiple time comments. Okay, so numbers, we have different types of numbers in our Verilog HDL. Okay, integers, real numbers. Okay, we have some integers and real numbers. Let's see those. So you can see integer numbers. You can see integer numbers in the sense we will not have the decimal part, right? That means after we'll be having only the whole numbers, either 0 or 1 and so on up to 9, like this type of characters. That means we don't have 1.0. We don't have 1.0 in integers, right? Okay. We'll be having the numbers what we have like this. Generally, if I want to write a number, it will be consuming around 32 bits. That means it is a 32 wide bit is used for writing a number, right? So what we can observe, you are seeing that real numbers also. We are able to see that in the real numbers we are using 4.3 general decimal representation, and we can also have scientific notation 4.3 E2. Okay, that is scientific notation. Okay, if you just go with the first type, you see we can write integer numbers. Generally, these integer numbers will be of 32 bits wide. Okay, it will be of 32 bits wide. So we can have 253, 253, and minus 253. You see here, this minus is an optional one. It is just to indicate it is an negative number, right? Okay. So if you have any unsigned number, that means if you don't indicate any number, here you can see I'm writing simply 25 and 253. They are positive numbers automatically. This minus is an negative number. If I don't mention anything before it is treated as an positive number. If I write minus here, it is treated as an negative number there. Okay. So one thing we have to remember here, if I mention that particular number as an integer, I can't take other characters. They should be only letters from numbers from 0 to 9. Okay. And if I have some other format numbers also, this here you can see minus 8, a tick mark having H F4. H indicates here this is an hexadecimal number. Hexadecimal number of 8 bit, which is a negative number. Okay, and the number is F4. Do you get now how a number is written? We have some representation there. The first field is optional, that is here, that is minus is optional. It is just for a sign bit. If this minus is absent, it is treated as a positive number automatically. If you mention it with the negative sign, we have to take the 2's complement. That we already know that. So here the second character you can see that 8. It is generally a decimal number, and it signifies the width of the number. Okay, it signifies the width of the number. If absent, the width is assigned a default value by the compiler. Generally here we use 32 bit. If you want to reduce usage of that particular number bit for that bits of the particular number, we can mention here 8. That means it want only the 8 bit. And what does this H indicates? So H specifies the hexadecimal, and we can also write B. B for binary. All letters should be small only. B indicates the binary, and O indicates the octal. D indicates the decimal, and H indicates the hexadecimal here, right? If you don't write anything here, if you don't write anything here instead of H, don't write anything, it is treated as a decimal number only. Okay. And we can see the last two here, F and H. Generally for indicating F, I require 4 bits. For indicating F, for 4 I indicate 4 bits, and for indicating F also I require 4 bits. So 4 plus 4, 8 bits are necessary. So I have written here 8. And F in the sense here it is an hexadecimal, right? So this is analyzation of a single number, right? I repeat once again, this integer numbers. Generally, these integer numbers will be taking 32 bits wide. So if I don't mention anything in before, it is treated as a positive number. If I mention negative, that means minus here, it is treated as a negative number. Okay, and in the integer numbers, we don't allow the decimal part. Okay, we don't allow the decimal part in integer numbers. And if you want to, if you don't mention anything, it is treated as a positive number. If you mention minus, it is a negative number. Generally, we will be taking the 2's complement of those. And also, we can't write here minus 258 253b, small b. We don't allow that type of combinations. Okay. If you want to write a number, it is having some technical meaning there here. So for these two, it is, this is the number, right? F and H is the number, and H indicates the hexadecimal, and it indicates it is requiring how many bits, right? If you don't mention H, what we can mention there, instead of H I can tick H, I can use tick B, tick D. B indicates the binary, D indicates the decimal, O indicates the octal number, likewise, right? So you had analyzed that clearly. So you can just see there. If you write there B, the fields what they will be taking is 0 or 1 or X or Z. If you write octal, it will be taking 0 to 7. So total 8 numbers. So it call it as octal 0 to 7. And we can also use high impedance Z and unknown value X. At any place we can use this high impedance Z and unknown value X, right? If it is of decimal, we can take the all the numerical values from 0 to 9, and X and Z will be used there. And if it is of hexadecimal, you know that we can use from numbers 0 to 9, and then A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, and we can also use this X and Z, where X indicates the unknown and Z indicates the high impedance values. Okay, if you go with the real numbers, generally these real numbers can be specified in two formats, one in the decimal, another one in the scientific notation form. Okay, and if you see previously, if I mentioned here 8, and if I have written only 1 here, rest all only one number here, that will be in the extreme right, and here we have to pad zeros. Okay, that is called zero padding. What you have learned in the zero pad, zero padding you might have seen in the SS, signals and systems also. Okay, So if you go with the real numbers here, generally we can say this notation as a dot b. Okay, a dot b. If it is a positive number, we can, it is of on the number line, it will be on the positive side. So minus a dot b means it will be on the negative side. Okay. If I write minus a dot b, where a comma b, the negative sign and the decimal point have the usual significance, right? As in general, the fields a and b must be present in the number form only. Okay, if I write a dot b, here a should be a number and b should be a number. That's the why we have even written as an example as 4.3. Both should be a number there. And then if you want to write in scientific notation, where 4.3 only can be written as 4.3 E2. Okay, in if it is of scientific form, we call it as mantissa. 4.3 is called as mantissa and 2 is called the exponent, right? So if you can see the number that 4.3 E2, 4.3 is called as mantissa and 2 is called as exponent. If the total number becomes 430 right there, the decimal equivalent for that 4E2 is nothing but 430. 4.3 multiplied with 10 to the power of 2, right? 10 to the power of 2, that becomes 430, right? So we can also have other representations also, say some minus 4.3 E2, that is to say that minus 430. Okay, if you want to write 1 by, we'll be writing the power as negative, right? So we can also have the strings. Sometimes we will be writing strings. So this a string is a sequence of characters enclosed within double quotes. Okay, if you write something in double quotes, this total thing is a string. You write what you require, or whatever you want, you can write there. Strings. Okay. So and what one thing what we have to remember is the total thing what we want to write should be in a single line only. There will not be a double lines. If you want to write a double line, you should write two types of string operators, right? Two times you have to use. So sometimes what we think is we want to write a particular content in two, it has to be printed in two lines, but here we will be allowed to write only in the single line only. So you write this is backslash t a string backslash that means sorry double quote this quotes, that means this is will be in one line and a string will be in another line. Backslash t backslash n, these can be also be allowed there. Okay, so we'll discuss in the next class rest of the topics. You'll see once again the strings and all others. We can have strings, logic values, and the strings also, data types. We can see those in the next class.